All right, everyone, we're back with another video. In this video, we're going to do a few things that I like about my 2013 F-150. All right. Now, I purchased this truck a few years ago, like I've said, and I've put probably about 35,000 miles on it in 2 years. I don't use it as much as this guy right here. This guy gets a lot of mileage. But, you know, it's been a work truck its whole life. It was a construction truck, and, you know, it's not been babied. It's been serviced and taken care of well. So this is a good indication on what life you can get out of these trucks if you take care of them. Okay, so the first thing that I love about this truck is the color. Very rarely do you see the trucks in this school bus yellow. It's actually, I think it's only a fleet only color. And this truck is a very low VIN number model. So that tells me that this was born a fleet truck, you know, a special ordered a fleet truck. And that's why I think it's kind of special, because it is a low VIN. I mean, I know it doesn't make a difference, but it just seems like they're always put together better if you have a truck that's a low VIN number. But anyway, the color is amazing. Sticks out like a sore thumb, and that's why we put the Tonka truck stickers on it. But the main thing, and a lot of the reasons why I like this truck, let me open this, was this truck is equipped with the 5-liter Coyote engine. Now, for these years, it's 365 horsepower, and I think 380 foot-pounds of torque, which by today's numbers is only mediocre. I mean, the truck's got a lot more powerful over the years. I mean, that's 385 and 425, 430, the 2013 with the 6.2 gas. But that's a completely different animal. This truck is built more for comfort and stuff like that, where that thing is just all out beastness. But this 5-liter compared to the 6.2 is very comparable. This gets obviously better gas mileage, but the overall power of this engine is just, it's good. I mean, the newer 5-liters, like I said, I've driven some of the newer ones, and that leads me to my second thing. The newer Coyote engines, the 5-liters, some of them have oil consumption issues. Some of them have oil pump problems, cam phaser problems. These are the most reliable. The first-gen Coyotes, in my opinion, are the most reliable out of any of the 5-liter Coyotes. They're on par with the 6.2 gas. Now, the newer ones make more power, but they're more fragile. And they have more problems with carboning up and stuff because of direct injection. And I'll be honest with you, I'd rather have, I know this is a little leaner on power, but I'd rather have one of these than a newer one. I've driven them, and their ability isn't much better. And they don't get much better fuel economy. They just make more power, and they're more fragile. Now, since this engine is so good, leads me to another thing I love about this truck. This truck's towing capacity is 9,800 pounds, which is pretty high. I mean, it's a 2-wheel drive regular cab truck with 8-foot bed, so it obviously is going to have a high tow rating. But I think the EcoBoosts in these years were only like 10.5, something like that. The EcoBoost 3.5 can tow a little bit more, but then again, is it quite as reliable? I'll be honest with you, I've heard horror stories and I've heard good things, but I've also heard horror stories about the 5.0s in these years, and I've heard good things. You know, and this truck's been die-hard reliable. So since this truck's got a good engine in it, its towing capacity is really good. So that's another thing I like. I mean, it's very good. So if you're looking for a good tow vehicle, a 2013 with a 5-liter Coyote is something you can't go wrong. Now, this truck is 2-wheel drive. So this truck has a locking rear with 355 gears. And in weather like this, when everything's icy, even with decent tires on, it's not the best. But it gets along. I mostly use this one in the winter because with the heavy liftgate and everything, it gets better traction, which is kind of a downfall with 2-wheel drive versus 4-wheel drive. But I've always had 2-wheel drive trucks. I just know how to deal with them, you know, and I know that there's certain things I just can't do. We'll leave it at that. Now, another thing I love about this truck is the transmission. This has a 6-speed transmission that was from the previous generation trucks. Not previous generation, but different ones with the 4.6 3-valve and 5.4 3-valve. They kept the transmission, and they didn't do anything different. Like the newer ones have the 10-speed, which I drove one with the 10-speed. Not a fan of it. It shifts horrid. It doesn't know what gear it is. It hunts for gears all the time, and a lot of times it lurches and bangs into gear. You know, and they say they fixed them on the newer ones, but I've heard nothing but bad things about them. Like, it's just one of those things that I think that they went for more gears, and it just didn't make a better truck. You know what I mean? They made more power, and they were worried about fuel efficiency, which they don't get better fuel economy, a mile or two per gallon. But you sacrifice the overall bulletproofness and overall reliability of this transmission, other than it not having a dipstick and you can't check it, which I usually just change them at 50,000 miles, the fluid, and it usually comes out clean every time, and it's just cheap insurance. You know, yeah, it costs, you know, $200 to change the fluid, but, you know, if you got to do that if you're doing that every 2 to 3 years, it's not a big deal. You know, and the main thing is not get the transmissions hot. So if you get them too hot, they'll burn the fluid. That's any truck, any transmission automatic out there. So you got a good, reliable engine. You have a bulletproof transmission, and it just leads to an ultimate package. These trucks are so reliable. I keep telling you guys this, and it seems like nobody understands how reliable these trucks are. The EcoBoosts are less reliable. Even the little 6-cylinders in these. A friend of mine had a 3.7 truck, and that was a 3.7 that was 300 and I think like 10 horsepower or something like that, and it was like 300 or 280 to 290 foot-pounds of torque, which is obviously less than this truck. But that little V6, that a 3.7, then he went to a 3.5, and then it's a 3.3 in the newer ones. That engine is such an overachiever. It's better than the outgoing V8s, the 4.3, the 4.6 3-valve and the 5.4 3-valve. The little V6 is almost as good as the 5.4 3-valve. I'm telling you, I've owned a 5.4 3-valve, and the only thing I didn't like was the problem with the cam phasers. So the 3.7 is a very good engine also. So even if you got one of these in a base model with the 3.7, it still comes with the same good transmission. And a lot of people don't like those V6s because they're the same ones, kind of, that they put in the Tauruses and Explorers that were having water pump issues. But a lot of people don't understand is they had an internal water pump. So if it leaked, it would drip down into the oil pan, causing slushy milkshake. You know, and that would ruin the engines. You'd get coolant in your oil, and it would ruin the bearings on the engine. The newer ones, or the ones in the trucks, I should say, have an external water pump. So the external water pump bolts on the front of the engine, like the old school style, and like a lot of the trucks, you know, has an external water pump that bolts on the outside. It's not behind a cover and a timing cover and all that. So when if these leak, they just leak on the outside, and you can check it, and you can see, oh look, I'm dripping fluid. And in this way, it's not getting in your oil, like how the older ones were, which makes them more reliable and better. So, I can't really speak to the EcoBoosts. I've driven one or two of them. I've heard, like I said, good things, bad things, but they do make some hella power. And if you tune them, like these, if you put a tune on, you're lucky if you get 20, 25 horsepower. These, you get a little bit around 25 to 35 because Ford really detunes them and just didn't really push the limit on the 6.2, which I really wish they would have, which they got rid of for 2023. So I'm not too excited about that. But those are some things I really like about this truck. I mean, it's mostly the drivetrain and stuff like that. I mean, I tell you what, the build quality in some places is better than others. And the drivetrain and running gear is better than that. Like the steering, the handling, the ride are perfect. But I prefer the steering. I prefer the steering in this and the handling in this. Because this truck is, I don't know if it's just because it's lightweight, but this truck rides like a dream. And I have load range E tires. I have, that's what the manufacturer calls for. And they're 55 or 60 in the front and 65 or 70 in the rear, something like that. In between, right in there. And I run them at what the factory recommends because this truck has a heavy payload package too, and a heavy towing package. So it came with the factory with those tires, and I run them to the spec. Where this truck states that it's, I think it's 70 in the front and 75 in the rear. And the ride on this truck is a lot worse than this truck. And this truck is all stock suspension, and they're all the same shocks and struts from when it was original. It's got 170,000 miles on it. I got the service records, and I never seen any records they were changed, and they were original Ford equipment. Where this truck, I had shocks that were leaking in the back because of hauling heavy loads. So I put on Bilstein shocks, which cost me like $500, and it did smoothen the ride out. But nothing like this truck. This truck is... You know how they say your truck handles better, and not handles better, but rides better when there's a load in it? Well, this truck has a lift gate, which is 1,000 pounds with all the weight in my tools. You figured 1,000 pounds of weight would make it ride better? No. This truck doesn't ride better even if it's fully loaded. Where this truck rides nice all the time. It basically drives like a car. So I understand that's why a lot of guys like the newer trucks, f-150s and stuff like that, and because the ride is really good. This is a comfortable truck. I towed a Jeep all the way out to Long Island, 5 hours and 5 hours back. And I did it on one tank of gas. So I towed like probably about 400 miles. And I drove all the way out there towing a car, and then all the way back stuck in New York traffic, and made it all the way back to the same gas station I filled up at. It was almost 400 miles, and I did it on one tank full of gas. Because this truck has the 36 gallon tank. This truck has the 26 gallon tank. So I drive this to Scranton and back, and I got to put $100 worth of fuel in it. The tank is small, and this gets lucky 10 to 12, 13 miles per gallon. I mean, it's not good. let's face it, it's not good. Where this truck, I've been averaging 17 to 20 miles per gallon. Even towing, I've gotten 14, 15 with towing 8,000 pounds, which is a lot better than most newer trucks. And I did acceleration videos of me towing, 3,000 pounds, 8,000, 9,000 pounds with this. And I did acceleration tests, and I also did acceleration tests for these. So if you want to see them, I'll leave it in the link above, or in the card above. So I'm going to do that. And like I said, this has been a very good, reliable truck. And I rate this truck a 9 out of 10. The only reason why I don't give it a full score is a couple little nitpicky things. Like when you put it in reverse and the backup beeper, I have to push reset to change it. I got to find somebody to deprogram that or something, because it's just so annoying. Every time you shut the truck off, it resets. Where this truck has it, but for some reason it's disabled, and I love it. So, yeah, these are just a few things I love about this truck. And like I said, this is just an amazing truck. You can't go wrong buying one of these trucks. As long as it ain't rusty and rotted, I say go for it. Now, 2 years ago, during the height of COVID, I paid almost $10,000 for this truck with 115,000 miles on it, and in almost mint condition as a construction work truck. Was amazing to me. It needed nothing. I haven't put anything into this truck other than a few updates and some lights and things I needed. I did change one coil pack, and I put a battery in it in 2 years. So in 2 years, I put 40,000-ish miles. No, actually more than that. 60,000 miles. Oh, I was wrong on the miles. Like 60,000 miles on in 2.5 years. And I haven't changed nothing on it. Not brakes. I got to get a set of tires here. I've been using the spare one, or the ones for that one. So this video got really long, and I hope you guys can appreciate, the time I put into my videos. I mean, I usually do a lot of scrap metal and stuff, but I'm standing out here, I don't know if you noticed, but like, it's freaking cold. It's supposed to get down into the teens tonight. It's supposed to snow and rain, and then it's supposed to have, 30, 40 mile per hour winds, and the windshield's supposed to be, minus 30 and stuff. So I'm going to be out here scrapping and doing things. It's been really cold lately. I got to go and pick up some scrap. This video got way too long. But all right, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you guys want to see some more videos and more content from me, smash that like button and hit the bell icon, and you'll get notified when I post another video. Usually every day or two I post a video. So I'll see you guys in the next one.